Hey guys, again, some late night modern on a budget, and I just want to say, those haters, they told us no, they told us that we wouldn't be able to. They told us that it was impossible, and I just realized I'm building up this big suspense for what the episode's gonna be, but you probably just read in the title of what it's gonna be. But guess what? We made a control deck on a budget. So we have modern on budget blue Tron. And you might say, but Tron's not a control deck. And sure, maybe you added blue, so maybe it's control. Any Tron deck, almost any Tron deck is a control deck. It's just a big mana. It's a big mana, probably oftentimes a creature deck. But it's a control deck. Don't be fooled. It's a control deck. With all those planeswalkers, Ugin, Karn, I suddenly can't remember any of the Eldrazi that are running Tron. Matter Reshaper, there's one. Success. Anyway, but we're not playing that kind of Tron. We're playing mono blue Tron, where we might actually end up taking infinite turns. Now, if you don't know what Tron is, it's when you have Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower all on the battlefield at once. And each of them is just a block of text, but I'll explain. It essentially reads, if you have, you either add one colorless to your mana pool, or if you control Urza's Mine, Urza's Tower, and Urza's Power Plant all on the battlefield, Urza's Mine will end up adding 2 mana, Urza's Power Plant will add 2 mana, and Urza's Tower will add 3 mana. So, on turn 3, if you have no other ramp, turn 3, you can have 7 mana available. If in that time you play a Mind Stone or a Talisman of Curiosity, then you will have 8 mana, and you could even play Ugin. Now, the reason why I chose blue is because modern right now is very vulnerable to Blood Moon, and people are taking advantage of that. And so we have 8 islands, and honestly, out of all the Tron variants, it might be Eldrazi or this that doesn't care about Blood Moon. Partially this because we can just counter it, but also because we just don't really care about it. So with that big mana, we also have River of Tears to most of the time add blue. Sometimes we might want to add some black so we don't have to lose life on Dismember, but overall, like, it's just there. Island, Field of Ruin to deal with pesky lands, Blast Zone to deal with pesky permanents, and Academy Ruins for our combo. Now, before we actually get into the exact reason why we're playing all these spells over here, I want to talk about the combo. Academy Ruin says, pay 2 mana, tap, put target artifact from your graveyard on top of your library. Mindslaver says, sacrifice Mindslaver, you control target player's next turn. So for Mindslaver portion of it, you're going to have to pay 10 mana per time you do it, and then Academy Ruins 2 mana. So this combo will require 12 mana per turn that you want to do it. And if we land first 3 turns we get Tron, and then we next turn next turn play some like Academy Ruins, but within the first 3 turns we played Mind Stone or Talisman of Curiosity. We just happened to take infinite turns at that point. But some of the support for the deck is X cost counter spells, because like we can. We're not wanting to go super into blue for like any double blue counter spells, but this allows us to use our ridiculous amount of mana as a counter spell. Mana Leak is so good, actually we have it in here, that 3 mana is rarely paid, but Syncopate and Condescend are going to be able to just counter unless they pay X, and they won't because we have way more mana than them. This allows us to scry 2, where Syncopate will exile it. There are reasons to run both, but the scrying is more relevant in the deck. Repeal is a way to bounce pesky permanents on the board while also replacing itself in our hand. Selective Snare is our very interesting budget choice for Cyclonic Rift. Cyclonic Rift is a way to bounce all of their non-land permanents, but this is a way for us to bounce a bunch of creatures that happen to share the same type. And you'll notice that a lot of creatures happen to say human, happen to say spirit, happen to say horror, and those are probably the three most common. Then there might be construct or giant, which are also pretty common. But really, it's human, horror, and spirits are just the ones that just happen to be what they are, so you can just bounce them back to their hand. Next up, we do have, well, again, the counter spell, but we do have Spatial Contortion, which is a colorless spell that says target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. This is kind of a mini Dismember, which we also run 3 of, but it's a mini Dismember, but it could also pump up one of our dudes. We run a few creatures, but it's really just, it's kind of like a mini Dismember. Then we have the Dismembers, which are in here for extra removal. Sometimes we'll have River of Tears, sometimes we'll have Talisman of Curiosity, if it'll hover over it. Nope, that's actually green. But the Talisman of... I actually do have to make that change. I apologize that this is actually the second time I've had to do this during a deck tech, but this is actually supposed to be Talisman of Dominance. And... oh, that's why I went it. Talisman of Curiosity, I was not wrong. But Talisman of Curiosity is just in there as an extra ramp spell. Mind Stone's in there as well, but what you're going to want to do here is you just want to cast those to give you some extra ramp. But Dismember is in here because of River of Tears. It's not in there because of River of Tears, but River of Tears sometimes will ease the pressure of the life total. But Dismember is in there just deal with pesky creatures that we can't get rid of. Thirst for Knowledge is draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. Most of our deck is, well, we have a few artifacts, and then our creatures are artifacts, some of them. But you want these Thirst of Knowledges, just dig through your deck. Expedition Map is 1 drop, pay 2, tap, sack, search your library for a land card, put it in your hand. So if you turn 1 mine, turn 2 Urza's Power Plant, turn 1 mine, and then Expedition Map, turn 2 Urza's Power Plant, pay 2 mana, sacrifice Expedition Map, you can go search out your 3rd Tron land. So it really helps with hitting Tron. Our infinite combo here is taking infinite turns with Mindslaver and Academy Ruins. We just control them during their turn, but we can tap them out to attack us or to do pointless things, and then just take an extra turn after that. Stonecoil Serpent is X cost. It's a way for us to use our extra mana. It's also Reach, Trample, Protection from Multicolored, so it's very valuable. It's a lot of stuff, and it enters with X counters. It's going to be one of our win conditions. In a non-budget deck, you might see Wormcoil Engine take its place, but Stonecoil Serpent is a very good card, especially against things like Teferi Time Raveler, Uro, Omnath, anything like that. Nibble Obstructionist is a way to give our deck a little more instant speed stuff, where we can cycle to counter target activator triggered ability we don't control. That can be a few different things, but really it's there. We can kind of just put a halt on those Hammer Time decks. It's kind of funny. They're like, oh, I'm about to win with my Sigarda's Aid, and then you're just like, nope, countered. Then Treasure Mage is a way for us to search out our Mindslaver, and if we want to at some point bring in Sundering Titan, then we're able to bring it in and then search it out with that. Best for last, Ugin is still able to be run in the deck. He's a quarter of the deck for in price for one card, but it's that good. You just need Ugin in here. Even if he's a one-of, he's amazing. Any Ugin you add to the deck, like any amount of Ugins, will drastically increase the competitiveness of the deck. I've already described the lands, so now it's time to move on to the sideboard. Tectonic Edge for if you really struggle with some like Field of the Dead decks or some other deck. Maybe you won't fall vulnerable to Blast Zone, but there's a lot of utility in lands, so this allows you to just destroy it. Relic of Progenitus is Graveyard Hate. Aether Gust is a way to fend off red or green aggro decks, and even sometimes Storm. It's not very good against Storm, but like it's a possibility to delay one of the, like if they play Goblin Electromancer, then you can bounce it to their hand and delay them a turn. Confound and Conundrum is a way to deal with Uro or Omnath decks. It's kind of ridiculous. You land one of these and they just crumble. Spatial Contortion is, again, for another way to deal with smaller creatures without losing a ton of life. Spreading Seas is our own mini Blood Moon in a Tron deck. Leyline of Sanctity is a way to protect ourselves from Storm, from Burn, and from other decks that make us discard things. Sundering Titan in here, when it enters the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, destroy those lands. It's a big creature, and it's a way for us to get extra, it's a way for us to get, to destroy our opponent's lands. We will probably have to destroy one of our own lands, but it's a very strong creature, and so it's in there in those games where it might go a bit slower, or it might be a bit more relevant. But overall, this deck is a lot better than I expected a budget control deck to be. I really like this. I love blue, and I love the idea of Tron. I think this deck is very powerful. Let me know what you think about it below, and I really hope that you like this video, but I will have to see you next time.